Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Kimberley Hoeppner, and today is February 16, 2016. When we're not here, check out our information by going to www.arh.noaa.gov or call our 1-800 information line at 1-800-472-0391. And as always, be sure to check out our information on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Now on to the topics of the day. We are going to be looking at some very active weather across the western areas of the state. As you can see, we have yellow and red lit up all along the coastal areas. The yellow is the advisories, the red are the warning colors. And first, let me cover the most impactful weather, which is going on currently across the St. Lawrence Island area, Bering Strait, experiencing blizzard conditions this evening. And we're expecting blizzard conditions also to start picking up across the western areas here of the state from the Kuskokwim Delta, mainly around Tuksuk and north up towards Hooper Bay. The area north of there, we have red highlighted for winter storm warnings, and these are going to be out through your Wednesday evening time frame, except for the Kuskokwim Delta, where that will expire during the early morning hours on Wednesday. Expect snow in all of these areas between 4 to 8 inches. The highest snow amounts are expected along the Nulato Hills area and also across the Norton Sound area. Be on the lookout for some higher snow totals where we have the front moving in and stalling for a longer period of time. Snow will pick up mainly after midnight across areas just a little bit further inland, and the highest snow amounts across Bristol Bay will mainly be north and west of Dillingham. Taking a look towards the north, we have snow advisories that extend all the way up through the Kotzebue Sound area, and this is for reduced visibilities. In all of these areas, we'll probably see visibilities dropping down to 1/2 mile at times. For the areas that are experiencing blizzard warnings tonight, visibilities will drop to 1/4 mile or less. So be on the lookout for snow to be developing through the evening in these areas, and we're going to go ahead and look at the satellite and taking a look at the swath of moisture that's covering from the Alaska Peninsula on up towards the Bering Strait with the low center near St. Paul Island. Putting this into motion one more time, taking a look at this frontal band is encroaching on the west coast this afternoon. As we work into the evening, we'll be into your weather maps in just a moment. And then along the backside of this system, some drier air advecting just over cooler and drier air across the western and central Aleutians. A little bit of a break between systems. A very weak low pressure system continued to spin just south of the Dixon entrance area, and this had brought some snow earlier today, up to 3 inches near Hyder or along Hyder. Some shower activity also continued across the interchannels. Some rain mix mainly along those inner channels. Clearing across much of south central. A couple of flurries noted across the central areas of the state, with blowing snow occurring along the north and the northwestern areas as we had a tightening gradient along the northwest coast as a frontal surge just kind of pushes up into that direction. Now looking at your weather today, here's the large front that extended from the Alaska Peninsula back towards the St. Lawrence Island, wrapping around into the northern areas of the Bering. We had a mix of rain and snow occurring across the southern areas of the Bering, changing over to mainly rain as you headed towards the Alaska Peninsula, and snow along the area from Nunivak Island and north. A little bit of light snow developing ahead of the system, but mainly no accumulations yet across the western areas of the state. And here's that weak boundary across the southeast, extending up from this low pressure system that's in the northeastern Pacific. Across much of the state, there's some clearing. All the white specks in here are mainly the mountain ranges that you're seeing. And then across the northern areas of the state had some reduced visibilities, mainly with some blowing snow and fog conditions. And then across the western areas of the Bering, just mainly some colder air and light snow showers occurring on the backside of the system. Now, as we head into tonight, there's not going to be too much progress this frontal boundary, but it's going to make its way into the western coast with a very tight gradient, as you can see, along this frontal boundary and on towards the southern areas to the Alaska Peninsula. Now, you'll first see a very strong southeasterly flow across much of the southwest, a little bit further north, more of an easterly flow gradient, and then along the backside of the system, more of a westerly flow as you head out towards the western areas of the Bering. So mainly a changeover from southeast to southwesterly flow as well for the Alaska Peninsula and the eastern Aleutians, with a mix of rain and snow here. Reduced visibilities all along the west coast areas, as mentioned, with those winter storm warnings and advisories and blizzards. Now, looking at your forecast for tomorrow, the front will begin to break up, but we'll see a prolonged period of time for that snow. So this is where we're expecting most of your snow accumulations across the Bristol Bay area. Like I said, north and west of Dillingham, mainly between 3 to 8 inches there. The rest of the area is also looking at 4 to 8 inches total. Just some light snow accumulations expected. It's very hard for the moisture getting up into the southeastern panhandle here. Mainly patchy fog in the morning. These conditions will improve through the day, so by Wednesday afternoon, areas should be beginning to break up. Across the south central areas, could start with some patchy fog during the morning hours as we go through the day here as well. High pressure in control. High pressure is extending across the eastern areas of the state, so much of the eastern half of the state is going to be under clearing conditions during the Wednesday afternoon time frame. However, the north and northwestern areas of the state having this gradient tighten between the high pressure to the east and the low pressure approaching from the west. We're going to be seeing some very gusty wind conditions, mainly winds blowing out of the east here, reducing visibilities down to 1 mile at times, especially from Barrow and west, possibly getting some snow in those areas. Now, on your forecast for Thursday, this system will bring some lighter snow through the day. However, it will be on the weakening trend. Low pressure developing just on the tail end of the front will be starting to begin a track across the southern areas of the Gulf. So the southeast will want to watch this low pressure system in the upcoming days. Light snow mainly across the southwest, extending up towards the Norton and Kotzebue Sound area. Snow activity will be more intense on Wednesday, a little bit less intense on Thursday. And as you can see, the pressure gradient will begin to slacken. So winds will begin to come down by Thursday. However, this next low pressure system will be developing in the central areas of the Bering. So be on the lookout for snow and blowing snow across the northern areas, beginning to move in on the Pribilof Islands, and rain to the south with very gusty conditions on the tail end of the front that'll be developing and moving through. Now, taking a quick look at the temperatures during the afternoon, we saw temperatures reaching into the mid-30s to the lower 40s all across the Gulf waters, with 47 occurring across the Yakutat area and south towards Sitka, and then across the central interior up into the mid-teens today for the most part, very uniform, 14 to 18 degrees across much of the area. And then the Brooks Range and north, the coolest temperatures near Arctic Valley, still near zero conditions and below zero across the area, with Barrow and Dead Horse getting down to -10 to -15 degrees. And Seward Peninsula, you saw an increase up to the teens, and the southwest much warmer temperatures here. So we saw temperatures mainly in the mid-20s with slightly warmer temperatures along the coastal areas getting up near freezing. Temperatures in the Pribilof Islands did top out in the upper 30s today, with slightly warmer temperatures also across the eastern Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula. Out through the chain, a little bit cooler trend as you go out towards Shimia. Now looking at your temperatures for tonight, the coldest temperatures are going to be on the eastern area of the state where we have high pressure. Clearing will allow maximal radiational cooling, so expect temperatures to be dropping in the -20 to -30 degree range there. Gusty winds will make it feel colder with reduced visibilities all across the north and northwest coast. Along the southwestern areas, expect temperatures 20 to the mid-20s, a little bit warmer along the Gulf waters in the mid-20s. However, some clearing will allow temperatures to get down into the single digits and lower across the Copper River Valley into the mid-30s or into the upper 20s, depending on where the skies clear across the southeast. More than likely the coldest temperatures that they've seen in a month across the southeast. So these temperatures for the southeast are going to be staying very cold for the southeast the next few days. Across the Bering, expect temperatures in the lower 30s for the most part. And then as we head into tomorrow, temperatures again in the mid-30s, slightly higher temperatures along the Aleutian chain and Alaska Peninsula for tomorrow afternoon. Coldest temperatures across the state will be again across the northeast and eastern areas of the state, just getting above 0 in most locations. A little bit warmer again across the southeast during the day. Sunshine will let them warm up into the mid-30s to near 40 degrees. And then your flying conditions for tomorrow, it's going to be widespread IFR as this front moves through. So expect MVFR conditions possible across south central areas of southeast for some early morning fog, and then across the north and northwest coast with visibilities being reduced from blowing snow in those areas, as well as much of the Bering, some low clouds around the low pressure circulation there. Looking at your passes in more depth, we have Adigan Pass from MVFR going to VFR in the afternoon, and also Lake Clark and Merrill Field will be MVFR to IFR, and we'll see Rainy Pass go MVFR to IFR. Looking at Windy Pass, MVFR, and Isabel will also be MVFR, improving to VFR. Mentasta also MVFR to VFR, and Tenedo will be VFR. We'll see Portage MVFR clearing to VFR during the day, and Chilkoot and White Pass for the most part are going to be VFR with some possible patchy morning fog, but that will clear very quickly with offshore flow. Now, the freezing level is going to be at the surface along the Gulf Coast and the northern panhandle there, back towards the Shimia, and then this warmer air mass has shifted a little bit to the east with the 2,000-foot level just south of the peninsula on up to 6,000 feet, and the 2,000-foot level across the panhandle with a slow increase up to 4,000 feet there. Now your icing conditions and concern will be early in the morning below 5,000 feet for the southeast, and then the larger area of concern, of course, is going to be along that west coastal area back towards the Alaska Peninsula, and that's going to be primary concern is going to be below 5,000 feet. Here's the jet stream. The strongest stream right now is going to be along a very zonal flow along the Aleutian, 130 to 150 knot jet there. A little bit of turn to the north as you head towards the Seward Peninsula, and then the jet stream kind of dips down around this low pressure south of the Dixon entrance. Looking at your 9,000-foot winds tomorrow, very strong winds across this low pressure system with a change of direction, mostly a zonal flow across the Bering. Uniform 45 to 55 knots there on the south side of this low, and then a south to southeasterly flow ahead of this system between 15 to 35 knots, the strongest winds, of course, across the western areas of the state, and also an easterly flow noted across the northern slope area and lighter winds across the southeast. So at the 3,000-foot level, you can see a 40 to 55 knot flow, very uniform. This is a stacked system, so very strong here, with a little bit of a weak low developing near Kodiak Island, sending the southerly flow between 35 to 45 knots across the western areas of the state. High pressure across the south central will keep things weak along the eastern Alcan border, with the Gulf seeing lighter wind flow, with this low pressure setting well to the south between 20 and 30 knots, change of direction around that low pressure system. Now you're flying for tomorrow. The turbulence, summed up in a nutshell, is going to be the strongest wind shear and directional shear across the western coast, mainly for the speed shear. And then we'll see below 4,000 feet uniformly across the area of concern. And we'll also see widespread conditions across the Bering, with the occasional conditions across much of the Aleutians. All right, in just a moment, we'll be back with your marine forecast.
It really is like almost being on a different planet. I think everyone kind of gets the same like awe factor.
This is something you're not going to do every day. It's something that is just not going to happen that often in your life.
For me, I think when you grow up here, you kind of take it for granted. We are at the Matanuska Glacier. 66,500 South Glacier Park Road is the address. Me and my husband Bill have been doing the glacier lease for about the last 20 years. It's just the access to the glacier, the roads and the bridges and all that is what the fee is charged for. It's not for the glacier itself. It's just the maintained roads out to the glacier. This piece of property was owned by Jack Kimball. His family broke down here in the 60s. This property was up for grabs as a home site. So his family came down here and they homesteaded. And then once they discovered the glacier out there and getting out there, he wanted to open it up for everybody to enjoy.
Well, it's tourist business. We give people a chance to go out and do something they'll likely never get to do again, is walk on a glacier. We make it as safe and as pleasurable for the people as we can. They just can't fathom the size of it and just the whole vision of the glacier. If you've ever been out there, you just see all kinds of colors in the ice, and it's just takes your breath away. There's very few people that go in there and are not glad they did. I do everything from cashier to packaging up meat during hunting season. And now we have interns coming in that take people out on the glacier with guided hikes. And I try to show them the ropes in the gift shop and in the kitchen and just get them familiarized with what they have to do.
Before I applied, I had no idea what I wanted to do with the summer. I'm a guide and I also work in the shop and pretty much whatever I need to do. Usually it starts off, we start kind of walking through the mud and the moraine, and we show them the thixotropic mud, and that's that really soft, squishy mud. When you step on it, it can almost suck you in. And then we go up to the seracs and the crevasses and the mulans. So we know all the names for everything and why the glacier is the way it is. We tell them why the ice is blue or why the ice is clear, and give them sort of the science behind this stuff.
I mean, you get up of a morning and I look out my front window and it's so much more to look at than getting up and just looking out your window in town and seeing one building after another. I get to look at all this.
Well, it was after 12 hours of flying, and I was very jet lagged and I was really tired and I was completely blown away. I'm not sure if it was because I was so tired or just the glacier itself, but I still get pretty blown away every time I see it. I don't know, it's hard to explain just being out there in a place that almost shouldn't exist. I mean, it's 27 miles long and goes way up into the Chugach Mountains. The mountains are just absolutely massive and so jagged. When you go back home, the mountains are really rounded and almost, they just don't compare. Kind of makes me want to go out and explore them. It just makes me feel like where I'm from is kind of small when I see it out here.
God knew what he was doing when he created this world, and he made variety for everybody to enjoy. And some people might go by the glacier and not even glance at it, you know. It's just hard to describe the way we feel about living out here and being close to the glacier and being able to explore out here.
About that technical issue. Welcome back to the show. Taking a look at the ice, we see the lighter blue colors here are representative of the thin ice along the older ice edge. And if you take a look here at Cook Inlet, there's very thin ice across much of the inlet. So mainly, we're looking at this ice to be eroding as this front pushes through with the strong southerly flow. So no ice growth expected in the next couple of days here. Now onto your marine forecast across the southeast, mainly an offshore flow with the stronger winds there across the northern Lynn Canal at 30 knots, and then we'll see a little bit weaker wind speeds across the southern channels and the outer waters between 10 and 15 knots. The inside channels will see seas between 3 to 6 feet, the highest to the north, and then the outer waters will be 7 feet. As we head into your Thursday, look for stronger winds across the inner channels, small craft and gales to the north, and then we'll see across the outer waters a little bit weaker wind speeds, offshore flow between 15 to 20 knots. Now, seas on this day will be between 4 to 7 feet across the inner channels, mainly around 6 feet across the outer waters. Now, looking over at South Central, we'll see winds out of the Cook Inlet down to Shelikof Strait out of the north direction. The Gulf waters will be primarily east to southeast direction, a little bit of a northeasterly flow out of the Prince William Sound. Looking across the Shelikof Strait area and Barren Islands, looking a change of direction with gale winds in these areas for Wednesday. Seas across the Cook Inlet, the northern areas and Prince William Sound 2 to 3 feet. The northern areas and western areas of the Gulf of Alaska will be between 5 to 13 feet. Highest seas towards the south here in Kodiak Island, Barren Islands, and the Shelikof Strait, 11-foot seas. Conditions on Thursday will become all north to northeasterly across the area, except the variable flow there across the northeastern areas of the region. Now a north flow with small craft becoming, again, we'll see gales across the southern areas of the island, but small craft for the southern areas of the Cook Inlet and the Shelikof Strait. Looking at your Wednesday marine forecast across the Alaska Peninsula, Bristol Bay, the winds will be coming down out of the west 30 knots for Wednesday, and then we'll still see gales across the southern areas of the Alaska Peninsula. Change of direction there from northwest to south, so be on the lookout for that. Seas will be between 10 to 15 feet across the Bering side and 12 to 15 across the Pacific side. On your Thursday, expect directional changes to the northwest, with the strongest winds being mostly gales across the area, 35 to 40 knots, and then seas will be between 10 and 16 feet, a little bit higher, and 17 to 18 feet on the Pacific side. Looking at the Aleutians, a uniform westerly flow across the area for Wednesday, and then we'll see your 35 to 40 knots changing direction and becoming a little bit stronger for Thursday with more of a southerly flow across the eastern areas. and a west to northwesterly flow across the western area. Seas on both days will be between 20 to 24 feet. On your western coastal areas, looking for mostly gales across the area tomorrow out of the west direction, and we'll see seas between 17 to 23 feet on Thursday, a southerly direction mostly, except as you get close to the Nunivak Island and south area becoming northwesterly. Small craft and gales for your Thursday with seas between 19 and 20 feet. And then we'll look at your strong winds for tomorrow across the northern coast back towards Kotzebue Sound. The strongest winds there between 35 to 45 knots. And then on your Thursday forecast, a little bit lighter wind speeds, change of direction with brisk wind advisories across the northwest coast between 25 and 30 knots. Now, to recap your forecast for tonight, blizzard warnings across the Bering Strait area and the Kuskokwim Delta. Looking for snow continuing or developing tonight during the evening hours and becoming heavy through your Wednesday forecast, with areas across the southeast mainly seeing shower activity. Clear skies across the interior and south central through the day on Wednesday after some early patchy fog in the morning. Blowing snow conditions across the north slope and the northwestern areas of the state. Snow across the western areas through Bristol Bay. Snow mainly north and west of Dillingham as you go south, with showery conditions, very strong winds continuing across the Bering. And as we head into your Thursday forecast, the system across the west will begin to break up, with this low pressure system developing across the southwestern areas of the Gulf, possibly tracking towards the southeast. By the way, the southeast will be colder as we head through the next couple of days, the coldest temperatures they've seen in the last month. So be on the lookout for temperatures dropping down into the lower 20s tonight from Yakutat, and some colder temperatures along those northern channels. Now the next system to watch will be out here to the west on Thursday. It's going to be bring some very gusty winds again towards the Pribilof Islands as we head through the day. Snow will be tapering across the northwest coast down through Bristol Bay. As this front diminishes, there'll be a little bit of a break between the systems. Thanks for staying with us. See you tomorrow night.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Find a living in fisheries. The UAS Fisheries Technology Program offers online study from anywhere in Alaska, plus labs and workshops in many Alaska towns.
Is most likely a chum.
Find your living without leaving where you are. Fisheries Technology from UAS.